Yes, guys, good morning to you all. I believe I'm completely audible and my screen is visible. Good morning, Soham and Vivek. Okay, so we'll start with the session in next 5 minutes, right? And what just come into my observation is without checking any date or the day, why do you start the meeting like as essay? Who started Friday's meeting just few minutes back? It's Satvika, right? But what are you saying, Nancy? 25th, we are going to have this session. If I am here, then I'll definitely be there for next 2 hours. We'll have this session, right? पहले का reschedule किया था. Very good morning, Abhishek. Good morning, Sagar and Ganesh. Good morning, Garima. Uh, Abhishek is from Rajasthan, Udaipur area. Sorry, Amit. What's the whole concern? Can he call me, Abhishek? Please ask Amit to call me. Good morning, Smriti. Sorry. Yeah, please ask him to call me now so that we can sort it out. Yeah. Yes, guys, I believe I'm completely audible and my screen is visible. Can you all hear me? Perfect. So we left the yesterday's session at this particular topic, rootkits. So make sure whatever the topics we'll be covering by today, uh, till that topic, your quiz will be conducted tomorrow, right? So whatever we'll be covering in today's session, so till that topic, you have to revise all the concepts and prepare well for the quiz one, which is the part of internal evaluation of institutional training and the in-house industry training. So we were discussing about the different type of malwares, and rootkit is one of that. So what basically rootkit is? So when we talk about rootkit, it is something which is also programmed as it's a malware, malicious software which we talk about. So the tools that give a threat actor, whosoever is installing this particular tool, so he or she will be having access to and control over a system or the other system. So that means the threat actor or the attacker, the hacker, they will be having the remote access to the systems, and they can operate a system by sitting at any remote locations. So in Windows, what happens actually, whenever malware is getting installed, so malware can only be manually installed with local admin privileges. So it asks for the local administrator privileges, right? So this means that the user must be confident enough in the installer package, whatever he or she is going to install, to enter the credentials or accept the user account control prompt. जो एक अलर्ट मैसेज आता है यूजर अकाउंट कंट्रोल, जो अकाउंट कंट्रोल प्रॉम्प्ट आता है, तो उसको अपने क्रेडेंशियल्स पुट करके तभी वो एक्सेप्ट करे व्हेन ही और शी इज कॉन्फिडेंट इनफ अबाउट दैट पर्टिकुलर software, we can say. So if the malware can be delivered like as a payload for an exploit of a severe vulnerability, so it may be able to execute without requiring authorization using system privileges. Now in rootkits, what exactly we have, it requires local administrator versus we have system or the root privileges. One is this particular part where the user account control prompt comes up, where you need to enter the credentials and acknowledge that you are confident enough to install that package. So often this, just a second, guys. So basically, what is happening? So Windows try to protect the system from any abuse of administrator privileges. So the critical processes which run with higher level of privilege, which is about the system. So the Trojans which are installed in the same way as the regular software cannot conceal their presence entirely, because they have this property that they keep themselves hidden, and they look like a legitimate software to the user and will show up as a running process of the service. So often the process image name is configured to be the genuine executable or library to avoid detection. So they look genuine, legitimate to the users, so that they cannot be avoided, so that they cannot be detected. So then we have the malware. If the malware can be delivered as a payload for any exploit of severe vulnerability, so it may be able to execute without any authorization, without requiring any authorization using system privileges. So it will be having the system privileges. Alternatively, the malware may be able to use an exploit to escalate the privileges after installation. Malware running with the level of privilege is referred to as rootkit. So the malware which is running as per the level of the privileges which has been assigned, so that is basically considered rootkit. So this rootkit, the term derives from Unix, Linux, where any process running as root has unrestricted access to everything from the root of the file system down. So जैसे लिनक्स में होता है, आप रूट जब आप रूट एक्सेस में होते हैं, then you can run any process without any interruption. So in the similar manner, rootkit क्यों कहा गया है इस malware को, क्योंकि ये जो नाम है वहां से ही आया है। कोई भी आप प्रोसेस रन करोगे एज अ रूट, तो उसको वो बिल्कुल अनरिस्ट्रिक्टेड रहेगा, उसका एक्सेस कोई नहीं रोकेगा टू एवरीथिंग फ्रॉम द रूट ऑफ द फाइल सिस्टम डाउन। So there is nothing about the system that a rootkit couldn't change. Rootkit कुछ भी कर सकता है when it is installed. So in practice, what happens? Windows use other mechanisms to prevent the misuse of kernel processes. Like वो code signing कर लेते हैं या कुछ ऐसा. So basically, this what a rootkit can do depends largely on the adversary capability and the level of effort. क्या क्या कर सकता है उसकी कैपेबिलिटी पे डिपेंड करता है, उसके लेवल ऑफ एफर्ट पे डिपेंड करता है। जब आप रूट क्विक से डील कर रहे हो, तो आपको इतना पता होना चाहिए कि देर इज अ पॉसिबिलिटी दैट इट कैन कॉम्प्रोमाइज द सिस्टम फाइल्स। आपके प्रोग्रामिंग इंटरफेसेस कॉम्प्रोमाइज हो सकते हैं, so that the local shell processes such as explorer, task manager, task list on windows, or so these things can be taken care of. So the rootkit may also contain the tools for cleaning system logs, further concealing its presence. वो अपनी presence conceal कर लेते हैं, system logs को clean कर लेते हैं. So about rootkit, it can replace the key system files and utilities. It can fork the log files, it can clean out the log files, and then we have firmware rootkits. Now, there are also some examples of the rootkits, if we talk about in detail, that can reside in firmware. एक firmware टाइप के भी होते हैं rootkits, either the computer firmware or the firmware of any sort of adapter card है, hard drive का firmware है, कोई removable drive का firmware है, कोई सी peripheral device का firmware है, so they can reside over there as well. So these can survive any attempt to remove the rootkit by formatting the drive, reinstalling operating system. So this is what is there in the firmware rootkits actually. Yes, guys, about rootkits, do you have any doubt? And how's the weather over there? आपके आप जहाँ भी हो currently, वहाँ मौसम कैसे चल रहा है? Is it good? Rainy? Same here. It's raining since morning. Raining in CU? Are you there in CU? So it's raining everywhere around, है ना? It's raining since morning and seems like पूरा दिन यही चलेगा. Since last 2 days. नहीं, कल बस 1 hour, 1.5 hour हुई थी. अपनी क्लास से पहले बंद हो गई थी बारिश. Panchkula. Over here as well, Roopnagar. It's raining since morning. Okay. The weather is cool everywhere. The monsoon is coming. It has arrived. Monsoon arrived. कल तक यही लग रहा था monsoon आ रहा है बस. So now it has arrived. No, Gyanish, I am in Punjab only. It's raining over here. आप पंजाब में कहाँ से हैं ज्ञानेश? Okay. Probably it will arrive soon. बठिंडा उस तरफ वैसे बहुत कम होती है बारिश. बठिंडा साइड. Okay, so let's move to the next slide. Now we'll be discussing about ransomware, crypto malware, and logic bombs. So Now, basically, what exactly is ransomware? As we discussed yesterday only, it's a type of malware only that tries to extort money from the victim. एक फिरौती लेना and system hijacking का part है ये कि this is something where the attacker, they actually try to extort money from the victim. So one class of ransomware, it will display threatening messages such as like requiring windows to be reactivated, or suggesting that the computer has been logged by the police because it was used to view some child pornography or some for terrorism. ऐसे threaten करने वाले messages alert आने. So this may apparently block access to the file system by installing a different shell program, but this sort of attack is usually relatively simply to fix. Now you can see the picture. It is WannaCry ransomware, the image which is visible over here on the screen. So this is basically a threatening message to the user, to the victim, actually. So the payment will be raised, time left this much, your files will be lost on this and this, time left this much, and so on. So what happened to your computer? Important files are encrypted. How can I recover? Can I recover? How do I pay? Like such kind of messages, like asking for money from the victim. So the crypto malware class of ransomware, when we talk about, so this was about ransomware. It's basically nuisance, lock out user by replacing shell and then ask for money. That is basically the ransom which they ask for. Then the crypto malware class of ransomware, they attempts to encrypt the data files on any fixed or the removable and the network drives. If the attack is successful, which is being done, initiated, the user will be unable to access the files without obtaining the private encryption key. We'll be studying about cryptography more in detail. The next chapter is all about cryptography. So basically, encryption decryption is a part of cryptography where the files are getting encrypted for the safe communication to happen, and only the person with the correct key with him or her will be able to decrypt the files. That means make the file back to the readable stage. So if this sort of attack gets successful, that's extremely difficult to mitigate unless the user has up-to-date backups of the encrypted files. अगर उसके पास backup है already, तो वो safeguard हो सकता है. So one example is CryptoLocker. Of this crypto malware attack is CryptoLocker. So there a Trojan that searches for files. एक कोई ट्रोजन होगा जो सर्च करेगा कौन कौन सी फाइल को इंक्रिप्ट करना है, फिर वो प्रॉम्प्ट करेगा विक्टिम को कि इतना अमाउंट हमें पे करो बिफोर द सर्टेन काउंटडाउन टाइम, जैसे ये टाइमर आ रहा है. सो आफ्टर विच द malware destroys the key that allows the decryption. इसके बाद ही आपकी फाइल्स आपको एक्सेसिबल होंगी, उसके बाद ही उसको डिक्रिप्ट किया जाएगा, अदरवाइज यू विल नॉट बी एबल टू एक्सेस योर ओन फाइल्स. सो so ransomware this uses payment methods. This is basically इनका मेन एजेंडा क्या है कि इन्होंने पेमेंट मेथड्स यूज करने हैं, वायर ट्रांसफर, क्रिप्टो करेंसी और the premium rate phone lines to allow the attacker to extort money without revealing his or her identity or being traced by the local law enforcement. So in crypto malware, we have high impact ransomware, which basically encrypt the data files or the drives and gives this alert message that after paying this much amount, your files will be back decrypted back, and you will be able to view your files. Then another type of crypto malware hijacks. It is basically hijacking the files, hijacking the system without the user's permission, right? So it basically another type of crypto malware hijacks the resources of the host to perform cryptocurrency mining. So they will be doing cryptocurrency mining through it. So this is basically referred as crypto mining or the cryptojacking, the term which has been used. So basically hijacking the resources to mine the cryptocurrency is a part of crypto mining or the cryptojacking. So the total number of coins within the cryptocurrency that is limited. That is they make the system working once, but there is a possibility that we are encouraging the attacker that we'll be paying you amount. अगर दोबारा से वो ऐसा कुछ करते हैं तो उनको एक ट्रस्ट गेन हो जाता है कि हाँ ये तो पे कर ही देगा, मतलब ये बकरा तो फंस गया, समथिंग लाइक दैट. हाँ एक्चुअली, एंड देयर इज जो फॉरेनर्स के मतलब ऐसे कोई ऐसी खास सब बग नहीं होना, ज्यादा बग दिखा देना और फिर वो उनसे दे आस्क फॉर मनी। इट इज बेसिकली नो अगर तो ये मिलन प्रकाश, अगर दिस इज समथिंग विच इज हैपनिंग ओवर द कोल, तो ये तो सोशल इंजीनियरिंग वाली बात होगी, मैनिपुलेट कर दिया उसको। दे सेंड वायरस देन दे ऑनलाइन फिक्स इट। So this is basically happening in ransomware. So this is ransomware, we can say. वायरस तो एक ऐसा टर्म है जो हम ऐसे यूज कर लेते हैं, कोई भी बग लगे या कुछ ऐसा हो, वायरस आ गया, वायरस आ गया, बट व्हाट एग्जैक्टली इज दे आर आस्किंग फॉर रैंसम इन रिटर्न, सो दैट इज ransomware. And the word which is over here in the crypto malware, crypto, that comes from cryptography, not from the cryptocurrency. So sometimes of malware do not trigger automatically. Having infected a system, they wait for a pre-configured time or date or system or the user event, that is basically the logic bomb. Logic bomb isn't necessarily malicious code, but that could be an event that triggers the undesirable event. कोई एक ऐसा event जो undesirable event को trigger कर दे, ऐसा logic bomb होता है कि when it blast तो वो किसी और चीज को trigger कर देगा और वो ज्यादा वो खतरे वाली होगी. So a typical example is the disgruntled system administrator who leaves a scripted trap that runs in the event his or her account is deleted, disabled, antivirus software, which is unlikely to detect this kind of malicious script or program. So this is basically this type of trap is also referred to as mine. So this was basically there in ransomware, crypto malware, crypto mining, crypto jacking, and logic bombs. Any doubt in this slide? Okay, guys. Then we have malware indicators. Now, we are pretty aware of the malware types, है ना? So there are, given the range of malware types for different malware types, there are potential indicators for the same. So sometimes of malware, they display some obvious changes like adjusting the browser settings, displaying some ransom notices. मतलब उससे पता चल जाता है कि कोई malware है. There is some kind of malware which is existing in the system from some suspicious activities or some uh, unwanted changes, sorry, something like that. So if malware is designed to operate covertly, like indicators can require some detailed analysis of process, file system, network behavior. So this is the part of this malware indicators. One thing from where we can detect the malware is the browser changes over this ransomware notification. Now talking about antivirus notifications. Just a second, guys. So talking about antivirus notifications, so most hosts they should be running some type of antivirus software. एंटीवायरस को हम A-B भी लिख लेते हैं, जैसे यहाँ लिखा हुआ है सेकंड फर्स्ट पॉइंट, सेकंड पॉइंट के फर्स्ट पॉइंट में. सो काफी होस्ट के पास एंटीवायरस सॉफ्टवेयर होता है, दे यूज दिस एंटीवायरस सॉफ्टवेयर. नाउ while the antivirus moniker remains popular, these suites are better conceived as endpoint protection platforms, EPPs. इसके लिए ज़्यादा ये प्रेफर किए जाते हैं. और some next generation antivirus. Now these detect malware by signature, जो भी उनके मॉलवेयर के थ्रू वो डिटेक्ट कर रहे हैं, उनके सिग्नेचर्स के थ्रू वो डिटेक्ट कर लेते हैं रिगार्डलेस ऑफ टाइप. नाउ दो डिटेक्शन रेट्स कैन वेरी क्वाइट वाइडली फ्रॉम प्रोडक्ट टू प्रोडक्ट. अब डिपेंड करता है कि ये कितना डिटेक्ट होता है कितना नहीं होता, प्रोडक्ट टू प्रोडक्ट डिपेंड करता है. So many suites also integrate with user and entity behavior analytics, which is UEBA, user and entity behavior analytics. And this basically behavior analytics thing, the second point, the behavior based analysis, this basically uses artificial intelligence backed analysis to detect the threat actor behavior. किस तरह का behavior रहता है, किसी threat actor का कौन सा pattern observe हुआ है इस बार, that has bypassed the malware signature matching. जो malware signatures होते हैं कुछ commonly used signatures, उसको बाईपास करके जो आगे निकल आया है, तो बिहेवियर एनालिटिक्स के थ्रू वो डिटेक्ट हो सके एंड दैट कैन बी स्टॉप्ड ओवर हियर. ठीक है. सो जो इस चीज को बाईपास कर जाएगा वो बिहेवियर एनालिटिक्स में, बिहेवियर एनालिसिस में वो कैच हो जाएगा. दिस इज बेसिकली देयर इन द एंटीवायरस नोटिफिकेशन, हाउ द एंटीवायरस नोटिफाइड अस अबाउट द. Okay, Milan, the thing is, we are talking about malware indicators, like how malwares are getting identified, what kind of indicators set there are. Now, that all depends upon the types of malware. किस तरह की एक्टिविटी उन्होंने परफॉर्म करनी है, किस तरह का वो पर्पस लेके आए हैं. So on the those basis, there could be some browser changes that can be observed. Just a second, please. Okay, I'm so sorry, guys. I just wanted to have some water. So we were discussing about the types of malware and the different types of observations that comes up कि ये malware attack हो गया. So there could be browser changes, some ransomware notification kind of thing, जिसमें वो एक alert message आता है, threatening message आता है, where the ransom is being asked from the user, from the victim actually, है ना, target person. So these are the indicators. Then we are studying about the various other types from where it can be detected. Once we have this antivirus notification, it's pretty clear कि मतलब बहुत ही ये antivirus is something very common है ना, मोस्टली यूजर्स के सिस्टम्स में इंस्टॉल्ड होता है, और वी हैव दिस विंडोज डिफेंडर सिस्टम एज वेल, है ना. तो एंड पॉइंट प्रोटेक्शन प्लेटफॉर्म प्रोवाइड करते हैं. सो नेक्स्ट जनरेशन एंटीवायरस थिंग इज समथिंग वेयर देयर आर सम कॉमन malware signatures. So checking about the malware signatures कि अगर वो तो नहीं available इस particular software में इसमें, so they detect the malware by signatures regardless of the type. अब type नहीं पता करते कि malware को इस type का, लेकिन malware है, through the detection rate that is that vary from product to product. If someone is able to bypass this malware signature matching, तो उसका हम यूजर एंड एंटिटी बिहेवियर एनालिटिक्स यानी बिहेवियर एनालिसिस के थ्रू वो मॉलवेयर डिटेक्ट हो जाता है. what kind of behaviors that has come into the observation. So ये AI backed analysis है. Any such kind of analysis वो AI backed ही होगी. आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजेंस लगी है जिसमें कुछ ऐसा सेट ऑफ उन्होंने डेटा प्रोवाइड किया हुआ है so that it can detect the threat actor behavior which has bypassed the malware signature matching. Is it clear now, Milan? So these are the two parts of this antivirus notification when you will be able to get notified by your antivirus software regarding any malware which is present in the system. Okay. Then we have sandbox execution. Now, sandbox execution, if it is not detected by endpoint protection is antivirus protection. So you may want to analyze the suspect code in this sandbox environment. So sandbox is basically, it's a system configured to be completely isolated from its host. एक होस्ट से बिल्कुल अलग एक आइसोलेटेड में सिस्टम कॉन्फ़िगर किया हुआ सैंडबॉक्स है so that the malware cannot break out. Sandbox will be designed to record the file system and the registry changes plus some network activity. ये सब चीजें सैंडबॉक्स जो है रिकॉर्ड करेगा फाइल सिस्टम registry changes network activity. So Cuckoo is a packed software. Cuckoo is an example for the same that aims to provide a turnkey this sandbox solution. Let me share the link with you all. So it is basically providing this sandbox solution. Cuckoo. Right? So then we can move to the resource consumption. Now, if there is any abnormal resource consumption that can be detected using the performance monitor, task manager के through पता चल जाता है, the top Linux utility के through. So indicators such as excessive या फिर continuous CPU usage में है, memory leaks हो रहे हैं, there is disk read, write activity, something like this which is going on, disk space usage, that can be a sign of malware, but can also be caused by many other performance and system stability issues. Also, it only really poorly written malware or the malware that performs some intensive operation like botnet, DDoS, cryptojacking, crypto ransomware, for instance. So these kind of malware that displays this behavior. Resource consumption could be a reason to investigate a system rather than definitively like a proof of infection. आप इंस्पेक्ट कर सकते हो सिस्टम को, ठीक, आप इंस्पेक्ट करते हो सिस्टम को अगर आपका बहुत ही अननेसेसरी रिसोर्स कंजम्पशन हो रहा है, लेकिन हाँ ये कोई ऐसा प्रूफ नहीं है कि इन्फेक्टेड हुआ ही आपका सिस्टम या नहीं हुआ. So this doesn't give us the guarantee, but yes, this is the proof. Like this gives us the reason to investigate. Then we have file system. Now, while the fileless malware that is certainly prevalent, file system they change the anomaly analysis that is still necessary. So even if the malware code is not saved to the disk, so the malware is still likely to interact with the file system and registry, revealing its presence by what? By its behavior. So if there is any kind of, the file system, the registry, when it is interacting, so it is basically revealing its presence. The computer file system stores a great deal of useful metadata about when files were created, accessed, modified. सब information होता है file system में. So analyzing these metadata, checking for suspicious, अगर कोई temporary files बनी है, so for suspicious temporary files, this will help to establish a timeline of events for an incident that has left traces on the host and its file. वो किस तरह की suspicious अपने proof छोड़ता गया है malware on any registry, the temporary files, logs के थ्रू पता चल जाएगा कब क्या access हुआ था, कैसे modify हुआ था. So this gives the traces on the host or the file. So this is all about the file system, and the things which we have discussed on the slides are all about the malware indicators, which gives us the indications that malware exists in the system. Is it clear to you all? Any doubt, any query in current slide? Okay, let's move to the last slide of this particular chapter. It's all about process analysis, and with this slide, we'll be completing chapter 4. Now, process analysis is something like because shellcode is easy to obfuscate, so it can often evade some signature based antivirus products. So, the threat hunting, security monitoring that must use behavioral based techniques to identify the infections. So, this means like the close analysis of the processes which are running in the system on the host, जो भी आपके host के system पे run कर रहे हैं different processes उनकी कैसे close analysis की जाए. So to perform this abnormal process behavior. Now abnormal process behavior is something the analysis effectively like if there is any abnormal process behavior observed in the system, so you should build up a sense what is normal in a system. एबनॉर्मल तो आप तभी आइडेंटिफाई कर पाओगे जब आपको नॉर्मल पता होगा. Then you should be able to sense what's normal in a system and spots if there are deviations in a potentially infected system. किस तरह की deviations हैं आपके infected system में, किस तरह से वो normal to abnormal behavior हो रहा है उसका. So you also need to use appropriate analysis tools like here it is given that signature based detection is failing to identify any modern APT style tools. Then we have network and host behavior anomalies. They drive the detection methods. Running process analysis through the process explorer, logging activity like by monitoring the system, then the network activity. There is a sys internal that is basically a suite of tools. Just a minute. Now, sysinternals, this is basically a suite of tools which are designed to assist with troubleshooting issues with Windows. जो भी आपके issues आते हैं Windows में उसके कैसे troubleshoot करना है. And many of the tools are suited to investigate security issues. जो sysinternals tool है Process Explorer, that is the enhanced version of Task Manager. So one can view extra information about each process. जैसे Task Manager में हर process की information होती है, लेकिन उसकी extra information आपके इन tools के through मिल जाएगी. And we can better understand how processes are created in parent-child relationship. Um, so this is about like this sort of behavior that can only be observed in the real time when the malware is executed in the sandbox. There is an image given over here on the slide. So this is observing use of PS execution, PS exec to invoke some partial script that creates memory resident shellcode. So this is the screenshot of Process Explorer. So, such kind of behavior like that can only be observed in the real time when there is malware executed in the sandbox. Threat hunting कर सकते हैं, automated detection tools. वो किस में help करेंगे detailed log information निकालने की, provided by the system monitor to record, identify the malicious process का behavior कैसे है. Along with the observing how process interacts with the file system, there is network activity, which is one of the most reliable ways to identify malware. Now, threat data that can be used to correlate connections to known bad IP address and domains. But there is malware that may try to connect to continually shifting endpoints, then utilizing the techniques such as fast plugs or the domain generation algorithms. So it may try to use social media, cloud services to blend with the legitimate traffic. So whenever this network identification comes into the picture, network activity, so they basically, target. They try to use social media and cloud services so that they can blend with some legitimate traffic, which is the majority of traffic is there. So this is all about process analysis, how processes can be analyzed in order to identify if there is any abnormal or the malicious behavior being observed. Is it clear, guys? Any doubt in this slide, or else we are good to go? Yes, guys, done. Okay, so I'm unable to speak in a continuous manner, facing this breathing problem because of throat infection. Let's have a break for like 8 to 10 minutes. We'll connect back and start with chapter 5. Let me share my another screen with you all. We'll start with chapter 5, bache. We're done with chapter 4. And concepts which we'll be covering today in this particular lesson, please make sure you revise these concepts. सुबह 11 बजे आपका टेस्ट है सबका, quiz 1. ठीक है? I believe lesson 5 screen is visible to you all. Please acknowledge once before having a break. Okay, thank you, Nancy. We'll connect back at around 12, 12:05. Yes, guys, are you all there? Okay, now we are going to discuss about summarizing basic cryptography concepts. Now, when we talk about this cryptography concepts, in order to assess and monitor the activities, basically utilizing the threat intelligence to identify if there is any potential attack vectors or to detect any malicious activity. So the protect cybersecurity function that basically aims to build secure IT processing system that exhibit the attributes of confidentiality, integrity, and availability. Whenever we are discussing about the secure system, cybersecurity system, or the basic function of the cybersecurity or the aim of the cybersecurity, that is the CIA triad. No? Now, many of the secure systems depend wholly or in part of cryptography. So, cryptographic system basically they encodes the data in such a way that only authorized person can decode it. Encoding, decoding is the one thing which is happening in this cryptography. So, only the authorized person will be having the access to decode the data back to the normal stage. So cryptography, that is the basis for many of the security systems you will be implementing, configuring. So as an information security professional, as a security professional, you must have a good understanding of the concepts which are underpinning the cryptographic algorithms and how these are being implemented in a secure protocol, services. So all the security personnel must be able to contrast the different types of cryptographic ciphers, understand how they can be used to apply data confidentiality, integrity, availability, and also describe the weakness if there is any. So, a secure technical understanding of this object will enable you to explain the importance of cryptographic systems, select the appropriate technologies to meet a given security goal, right? So, let's start with this particular lesson. We will be able to compare and contrast cryptographic ciphers in the sense that a cipher, सुना है आपने कभी? What is basically a cipher? The term which is used over here, cipher, what is that? Anyone, any idea? Cipher is particularly the operations which are performed, to encode or decode the data. Encoding, decoding the language. Yeah. So, what kind of operations we are using to perform encoding and decoding the data? Modern cryptographic systems they make use of symmetric or symmetric ciphers types to encode, decode the data. So they are going with these two types of ciphers. So these, as well as these types, we have one-way hash functions, which has like a important role to play in many security controls. Now, being able to compare and contrast the characteristics of these types of cryptographic ciphers and functions, that is essential for you to deploy security controls for different use cases. Now, that all depends upon which use case you would like to implement it. Algorithm for encryption and decryption. Yes, right. So on. So let's start with this particular lesson with cryptographic concepts. Now, just a minute. Cryptographic concepts. Now, cryptography, if we get this term, तो इसका meaning क्या है? It means secret writing. So that has been around for thousands of years. Cryptography का मतलब ही क्या है? Secret writing. Crypto means hidden. Graphy means writing. So that is basically the secret writing. So it is the art of making information secure. How it can make information secure? By encoding it. And when we say encoding it, so that means the plain text being converted to the cipher text in the encoding process or the encryption process, we can say. So this stand in opposition to the concept of security through obscurity. So security through obscurity means keeping something a secret by hiding it. ठीक है, हम कैसे किसी चीज को सीक्रेट कर सकते हैं, उसको हाइड करके, उसको छिपा के. So this is generally acknowledged to be impossible on any sort of computer network. So with cryptography, it doesn't matter if third party knows of the existence of the secret because they can never know what is what it is without obtaining the appropriate credential. बिना एक जो मिनिमम रिक्वायरमेंट इसमें की रहती है, उसके बिना वो इंफॉर्मेशन को फेच ही नहीं कर सकते. ठीक है. So there is a terminology जो हम cryptography में use करेंगे. So cryptography is encryption, decryption, encoding, decoding process. Now when we talk about plain text is clear text जिसको आप easily पढ़ सकते हो. So this is basically unencoded message or unencrypted message. ठीक है? Which is in the normal form. Any person can read it, understand it, interpret the meaning through the message. Then we have ciphertext, which is the coded message. And when we say which is a coded message, that means it is an encrypted message. Okay, encryption has been done. So that is the ciphertext. When plain text gets converted to ciphertext. Now, when we talk about cipher, now cipher is the process, or we can say it's the algorithm, which is used to encrypt and decrypt a message. So the mean of change of the change or the algorithm which is being used for the encoding, decoding, or encryption, decryption part. Then we have cryptanalysis. So this is the art of cracking the cryptographic systems. So how we can crack the cryptographic systems, that is basically being, covered in this cryptanalysis term. So in discussing cryptography, attacks against encryption system, it is the customary to use a cast of characters to describe different actors involved in the process of attack. Now, we'll be using, let me be very clear with you all, we'll be using Alice and Bob. And Alice is the sender of genuine message. आगे हम जो भी examples करेंगे further इस process को समझाने के लिए, तो बिना sender receiver के हम ये चीज नहीं समझा पाएंगे. So let's keep it simple. Alice is a sender of genuine message. Bob is the intended recipient of the message, जिसको वो message जाना चाहिए. Then we have Mallory. वो एक बीच में malicious attacker है जो उस message को कैसे ना कैसे प्राप्त करने की कोशिश करेगा. Attempting to subvert the message in some way. ठीक है? So ये characters हैं आपके Alice, Bob and Mallory. ठीक है? So whenever in future in the coming examples we'll be using these names, तो आपको पता होना चाहिए Alice is the legitimate sender of the genuine message, Bob is the intended recipient of message, and Mallory is the malicious attacker which is attempting to subvert the message in some way. ठीक है? There are three main types of cryptographic algorithm with different roles to play in the assurance of security properties. And when we talk about security properties like confidentiality, integrity, availability, non-repudiation, so these types are various types like hashing algorithms we have, and the two types of encryption ciphers will be going with symmetric cryptography and asymmetric cryptography. ठीक है? हैशिंग एल्गोरिदम्स होंगे, इंक्रिप्शन सिफर्स में कौन से होंगे हमारे, किस तरह से हम ये एल्गोरिदम लगा रहे हैं. वन इज द सिमेट्रिक टाइप, वन इज द असिमेट्रिक टाइप. Regarding the basics of cryptographic, the concepts, is it clear to you all? So something, yes, no, maybe. Is it clear, guys, the current slide? Okay, so let's move to the next slide. We'll be discussing about hashing algorithms. Now, what basically is hashing? Hashing is the simplest type of cryptographic operation. Now, cryptographic hashing algorithm, basically there's a process which is defined. It produces a fixed length string. एक fixed length की string ये produce करेगा. जो भी हम input इसको plain text में देंगे, चाहे किसी भी length की हो, कितना भी छोटा या बड़ा मैसेज हो, लेकिन इसने हैश जो बनाना है वो एक फिक्स्ड लेंथ का बनाएगा. सो फिक्स्ड लेंथ हैश फ्रॉम वेरिएबल स्ट्रिंग विद क्रिप्टोग्राफिक प्रॉपर्टीज. ठीक है? जो आउटपुट आएगा उसको हम चेकसम कह सकते हैं. जो भी हमने हैशिंग अप्लाई किया, क्रिप्टोग्राफिक ऑपरेशन लगाया, तो जो उसका आउटपुट आया दैट इज बेसिकली चेकसम. और वी कैन से दिस इज मैसेज डाइजेस्ट. ठीक है? एमडी कह सकते हैं, हैश भी कह सकते हैं कि ये हैश जनरेट हुआ है. ठीक है? So the function which is designed, is designed so that it is impossible to recover the plain text from the digest. एक वन वे फंक्शन नहीं लग सकता है कि हम जो मैसेज डाइजेस्ट या हैश जनरेट हुआ है या जो चेकसम जनरेट हुआ है उससे हम वापस प्लेन टेक्स्ट ले सके. So there are different inputs which are unlikely to produce the same output. So this is basically the collision type. So one way is plain text cannot be recovered from the digest. Then we have anti-collision. किसी दो plain text का no two plain texts are likely to produce the same checksum. ठीक है? Is it clear, guys? Uh, Abhishek, like, is this a question from your end or what? Huffman code? Huffman code is something different. We are talking about hashing. Huffman coding is something, a compression type, how, data compression algorithm. It is something like that. ठीक है. हैशिंग एल्गोरिदम का एक सिंपल सा फंडा है दैट दे विल बी प्रोड्यूसिंग एक फिक्स लेंथ का हैश कोड जनरेट करेगा. कितना भी आप वेरिएबल स्ट्रिंग दे दो उसको, वन वे होगा, नहीं हो सकता. सो दिस काइंड ऑफ प्रॉपर्टीज की प्लेन टेक्स्ट को हम कभी वन वे नहीं, मतलब उसमें कन्वर्ट नहीं कर सकते. प्लेन टेक्स्ट नहीं रिकवर हो सकता है डाइजेस्ट से. जो भी इसका आउटपुट जनरेट होता है हैशिंग का, या तो वो मैसेज डाइजेस्ट कह दें या उसे चेकसम कह दें या हैश कह दें, दैट्स कम्प्लीटली योर विश. और किसी दो प्लेन टेक्स्ट का सेम चेकसम कभी प्रोड्यूस नहीं होगा. ठीक है. सो हैशिंग एल्गोरिदम दैट इज बेसिकली देयर टू प्रूव द इंटीग्रिटी. इंटीग्रिटी इन द सेंस दैट डेटा इज इन दी ओरिजिनल फॉर्म, उसमें कोई चेंजेस नहीं हुए, ऑल्टर नहीं हुआ है. तो बॉब और एलिस जो बात कर रहे थे, एलिस इज अ सेंडर, बॉब इज अ रिसीवर. दे कैन कंपेयर द वैल्यूज used for the password in the following way, like Bob already has the digest calculated from Alice plain text password. उसने जो भी password share किया है, जो भी message share किया है. Now Alice, basically how it is happening over here, फाइल में है हेलो वर्ल्ड और हैश जनरेट हुआ है जो भी इन्होंने हैश की फॉर्म में यहाँ शो किया हुआ है. एलिस पब्लिश अ फाइल एंड वी रेफरेंस हैश वैल्यू. उसने जो फाइल और हैश वैल्यू फर्दर पब्लिश किया एलिस ने और बॉब को सेंड कर दी. तो बॉब ने वो फाइल को डाउनलोड किया एंड रिकॉर्ड द रेफरेंस हैश वैल्यू, जो भी उसने रेफरेंस हैश वैल्यू भेजी है. फिर बॉब ने अपना एक हैश जनरेट किया. बॉब कंप्यूटर हैश, उस फाइल का उसने जब हैश लगाया तो उसने कंपेयर किया जो रेफरेंस वैल्यू एलिस ने भेजी थी वो मैच कर रही है या नहीं कर रही है. ठीक है. मैलरी ने अगर बीच में कुछ इंजेक्ट किया है, इंजेक्ट द मॉलिशियस डाउनलोड बट कैन नॉट चेंज द रेफरेंस हैश वैल्यू को वो चेंज नहीं कर पाई मैलरी, जो भी है ना. इसमें मैलरी जो मॉलिशियस अटैकर शो किया हुआ है, उसने इंजेक्ट कर दी, फाइल चेंज कर दी ना. बॉब ने जब कंप्यूट किया फाइल से हैश, तो हैश मैच नहीं किया रेफरेंस से. सो ही रिजेक्ट्स द फाइल. दैट मींस उसका हैश कुछ और जनरेट हुआ. एलिस ने कोई और हैश वैल्यू भेजी थी, हैश तो लेकिन सेम होना चाहिए. तो फिर यहीं से पता चल गया कि इसकी इंटीग्रिटी ब्रीच हो चुकी है एंड बॉब देन रिजेक्टेड द फाइल एंड गेट्स टू नो कि जब उसने कंपेयर किया, अगर वो मैच कर जाता तो वो एक्सेप्ट कर देता, लेकिन वो मैच नहीं किया. कंपेयरिंग द पासवर्ड वैल्यूज हैश when the hash values were compared. So this thing can help us to verify the integrity of file after transfer, right? Then we have secure hash algorithm. So this is considered SHA, strongest algorithm. There are variants that produce different size outputs. ऐसे कई variants हैं जो different size के outputs produce करते हैं. With some longer digest हो सकते हैं, more secure भी होंगे. वो जो longer digest बनाते हैं वो ज़्यादा secure भी count हो सकते हैं. और मोस्ट पॉपुलर वेरिएंट जो है सिक्योर हैश एल्गोरिदम का वो है SHA 256. 256 जो न्यूमेरिक करेक्टर्स के साथ लगा है. सो दैट इज बेसिकली इट प्रोड्यूसेस 256 बिट डाइजेस्ट. इतना बड़ा डाइजेस्ट वो प्रोड्यूस करता है. देन वी हैव MD5, मैसेज डाइजेस्ट एल्गोरिदम. So it produces 128-bit digest. MD5 इतना सेफ नहीं कंसीडर किया जाता जितना सिक्योर हैश एल्गोरिदम 256 किया जाता है, but it may be required for the compatibility between security products. So this is all about hashing algorithms, guys. If you have any doubt, then please feel free to ask me, or else we are good to go to the next slide. Is it clear to all? Okay. So let's move to the next slide. Now we'll be having a look at the encryption ciphers and keys. Now see, while a hash function can be used to prove the integrity of data, integrity का पता चल जाता है कि मैसेज में कोई चेंज हुआ है नहीं हुआ, इंटीग्रिटी हमारी ब्रीच हुई है या फिर सिक्योर्ड है. तो हैशिंग जो है वो हैशिंग इज नॉट इंक्रिप्शन. उन्होंने फाइल तो वैसे ही भेजी थी ना, साथ में एक हैश वैल्यू भेज दी थी कि कंपेयर कर लेना तुम्हारी हैश वैल्यू हमारी हैश वैल्यू से मैच हो रही है या नहीं हो रही है. हो रही है तो फाइल वही सेम रिसीव हुई है, अगर नहीं हो रही है तो मतलब फाइल में कुछ रास्ते में चेंजेस हुए हैं, तो ये ओरिजिनल फॉर्म नहीं है. सो ये प्रोसेस रिवर्सिबल नहीं है, मतलब इसका बस इंटीग्रिटी से ही लेना है. इट कैन नॉट बी यूज टू स्टोर और ट्रांसमिट डेटा. सो प्लेन टेक्स्ट कैन नॉट बी रिकवर्ड फ्रॉम द डाइजेस्ट. हम डाइजेस्ट से प्लेन टेक्स्ट नहीं रिकवर कर रहे हैं. So the we are just comparing two digest, one digest which is shared by the sender and one digest which we are generating through the file. So encryption algorithm, that is basically a type of cryptographic process that encodes the data so that it can be recovered or decrypted. Encryption algorithm एक ऐसा reversible process है that is based upon the secret कि हम file को वापस decrypt भी कर सकते हैं, recover भी कर सकते हैं. Once a file is converted to some cipher text, तो उसको हम वापस plain text में ला सकते हैं. So how it is happening? It is happening with the help of algorithm, right? And there is one very important thing which is being used and which is a part of this encryption algorithm, decryption algorithm, which is key. है ना? The use of key with the encryption ciphers ensure कि decryption can only be performed by authorized person. जिसके पास की होगी वो authorized person होगा, वही decryption को further perform कर पाएगा. Is it clear? So hashing is not encryption, process is not reversible. And when we talk about encryption, that is a reversible process which is based on the secret, which is based on the algorithm and the key, which is with the authorized person only. So the process should be too complex to unravel without the secret. There could be various processes. Now to understand how encryption works. So firstly, let's consider simple substitution transposition ciphers. As the name suggests, substitution cipher involves substitute करना है, replace करना है हमने किसी यूनिट को, किसी लेटर को, किसी ब्लॉक ऑफ लेटर को प्लेन टेक्स्ट के किसी और डिफरेंट लेटर्स के साथ, so that we can create a cipher text. Simple substitution ciphers में क्या होता है? We rotate or scramble the letters of the alphabet. For example, if we have wrote 13 as an example of Caesar cipher. If we rotate each letter 13 places, so A becomes N, for instance, and a similar manner. So, वैसे ही, guys, I'm giving an example to you all. Substitution cipher लगाओ इस पे, and I'm telling you the key. Hello world is the plain text. Let me type. And key which I want you guys to use in substitution में substitute करना है हमें. So कि आप ये यूज कर लो that you are following this rule, rotate each letter 13 places, so A becomes N, for instance. So what will be the cipher text? Share over here in the chat box. Quickly do it. So इसका cipher text क्या बनेगा? Hello world का. Make sure you do it by your own. I hope you all are calculating the cipher text from the plain text which is given to you guys, and the key which I told you, like regarding which algorithm you have to apply for the same. Okay, so I've received a reply from Soham. What about others? I hope you have received the concept how we are performing this substitution cipher. Doing this substitution cipher, we are substituting each alphabet which is there in the plain text with some another alphabet, and we have decided on a term that हम जो letter है उसके 13 आगे वाले letters को उसको use करेंगे. We'll be substituting A with N and so on. Substitution में यही होता है, we substitute one alphabet with some another, one digit with some another, and something like that. Perfect. That's the correct answer. This is the only ciphertext which can be generated if we are following this rotation, that how we are going to substitute which alphabet with which one. Hello world is the plain text, and the ciphertext is URYYB JBEYQ. So this is the one. Is everyone getting the same answer, guys? Please acknowledge. All right. So the next part which we have over here is the transposition cipher. Now, in contrast to this substitution cipher, the units in transposition cipher that stays same in the plain text and cipher text. Transposition क्या हुआ कि हमने बस उसकी position change कर दी. हमारे पास plain text में जो भी alphabets letters use हुए हैं, हमने same उन्हीं को use करके उनको बस आगे पीछे adjust कर दिया. Like this, we have transposition is something happening, है ना? So the basically this the letters, the units, they stay same in plain text, cipher text, but the order gets changed. इनका order change हो गया. Hello world नहीं दिखेगा सामने वाले को, सिफर ये नहीं generate हुआ. So according to some mechanism that can be done. Now you can say that आपका आपने ऐसे, let me type over here. Hello world को transposition cipher आपने ऐसे लिखा. Oh, sorry. Transposition cipher. प्लेन टेक्स्ट हम सेम ही ले रहे हैं, और सिपर टेक्स्ट हमारा ये आ रहा है. टेक्स्ट अगर हेलो वर्ल्ड को मैं दो रोज में डिवाइड कर दूं, ऐसे लिखूं एच फर्स्ट रो में, देन ई सेकंड रो में, देन एल एल ओ वर्ल्ड. आर यू एबल टू गेट फ्रॉम द मैकेनिज्म जो फॉलो किया ट्रांसपोजिशन के लिए? तो फिर उससे सिफर टेक्स्ट हमारा क्या जनरेट हुआ अगर हम उसे रो वाइज लिखें ऐसे? तो इतने हमने 5 कॉलम्स में अपने पूरे मैसेज को डिवाइड कर लिया, और वी कैन टेक 3 कॉलम्स 4 कॉलम्स एज पर योर विश, एज पर द लेंथ ऑफ द मैसेज. How would you like to divide that message and pick out the cipher text out from there? Are you able to get the idea how the plain text hello world is converted to cipher text is halul, el, wrd? So letters are simply written as columns, and then the rows are concatenated to make the ciphertext. We have concatenated the rows, उसको combine करके हमने एक ciphertext बना लिया. It's called rail fence cipher. The other name for this is rail fence cipher, right? So all modern encryption, they use some basic technique of substitution, transposition, but in much more complex ways. मतलब ये तो हमने एक ease के लिए एक easy सा ले लिया, but जो भी हमारे modern algorithms हैं, ये इनका भी use करते हैं, लेकिन कुछ complex ways में. ठीक है? Then we have keys and secret ciphers. Now, encryption ciphers which use a key to increase the security of the process. There is a key, use of key, which is happening, which helps in enhancing the security of the process. So, for example, if you consider the Caesar cipher, just say, आपने wrote 13 लिया, you should realize that the key is 13. You could use 17 to achieve a different ciphertext from the same method. The key is important. एक particular key लेके चल रहे हैं कि हमने क्या follow करना है. That is something important. You know, it because it means that even if the cipher method is known, a message still cannot be decrypted without the knowledge of specific key. अगर आपको पता है कि इन्होंने जो है substitution की है, ये method use किया है, लेकिन अगर आपको की नहीं पता, then how will you be able to fetch back the message? That won't be possible without the help of key. So this is particularly important in modern cryptography. So attempting to hide the details of the cipher, or we can say the secret algorithm, that amounts to security by obscurity. Modern ciphers, they are made stronger by being open to review, that is crypt analysis by the third party researchers. So this is what we have covered over here in the slide, that we cannot keep the cipher algorithm itself secret. We have to, the key which ensures the ciphertext remain protected even when the operation of cipher is known. पता हो चाहे known है, चाहे known हो वो जो operation है, लेकिन key अगर हमारी secret है तो that is protected. Protecting the key is easier than protecting the algorithm. Algorithm reveal हो सकता है, लेकिन key को secret रखना ज़्यादा important रहता है. Is it clear, guys? Encryption ciphers and keys. Okay, great. Now let's move to the symmetric encryption. As I told you, we have to type symmetric or symmetric encryption. So symmetric encryption is something where we will be using just one key. There will be same secret key which is being used for the encryption, and the same secret key will be used for the decryption. So the symmetric encryption is one in which encryption and decryption both are performed by the same secret key. अब इसमें क्या challenge रहता है, that we have to keep the key secret. Once the key is revealed, की अगर आपकी किसी को पता चल गई तो वो encrypt भी कर सकता है, decrypt भी कर सकता है. So we have to keep it secret. The secret key is so called because it must be kept secret. इसमें same secret key क्यों term use की है, क्योंकि जो key use हो रही है उसको secret रखना बहुत जरूरी है. ठीक है? So if the key is lost, stolen, security अपने आप ही breach हो जाएगी. अगर आपकी key secret ना रही, then the message is no more secret, then security is breached. Symmetric encryption is used for confidentiality. So same secret key which is being used for encryption, decryption. And now again, let's have a look at the conversation happening between Alice and Bob. So Alice and Bob, they share a symmetric key. Symmetric in the sense they share a secret key with each other. Now that Alice is encrypting a file using the symmetric key, and the file is hello world, encrypted file is something another, as you can see the alphabets, and that is sent. Alice sent the file ciphertext to the Bob. Now that Bob has the same key with him, है ना? So Bob will be able to decrypt the message back to the plain text. So Bob decrypts the ciphertext using the same symmetric key and will be able to, receive the message कि अभी उसने send किया. So symmetric encryption is also referred as single key, private key, shared key. इसके लिए तीन नाम use हो सकते हैं. आप सिमेट्रिक इंक्रिप्शन भी कह सकते हो, सिंगल की इंक्रिप्शन भी कह सकते हो, सीक्रेट की इंक्रिप्शन भी कह सकते हो, प्राइवेट की इंक्रिप्शन भी कह सकते हो, और शेयर्ड सीक्रेट भी कह सकते हो. नाउ सी, जो प्राइवेट की है जो इसमें यूज करें, दैट इज आल्सो यूज्ड एज अ पार्ट ऑफ पब्लिक की क्रिप्टोग्राफी. सो लेट्स नॉट कंफ्यूज. ये सिमेट्रिक की में बस एक ही की यूज होती है, जो सिमेट्रिक सॉरी इंक्रिप्शन और डिक्रिप्शन दोनों प्रोसेसेस में काम आती है. सेंडर भी वही यूज कर रहा है, रिसीवर भी वही यूज कर रहा है. Now, symmetric encryption is very fast. It is used for bulk encryption of large amount of data. The main problem is secure distribution and storage of key, or the exact means by which Alice and Bob meet to agree the key. उन्होंने एक की पे एग्री करना है कि हम कौन सी की यूज करेंगे, और उसी से इंक्रिप्शन डिक्रिप्शन प्रोसेस होगा. सो दिस इज द मेन प्रॉब्लम. It is fast. It is suitable for bulk encryption of large amount of data. Only problem is regarding storing, distributing the key securely. So it basically obeys the confidentiality law, so that sender and recipient knows the same key. So if there is mallory, बीच में कोई intercept करना चाहती है the key, obtain the ciphertext, then the security is broken. अगर उसने की जान ली mallory ने, जो malicious attacker है, तो वहीं पे security breach हो जाएगी. Now note that the symmetric encryption cannot be used for any authentication integrity. कोई ऐसा कुछ नहीं मांगेगा, आपके पास की है तो आप authorized user हो, because Alice and Bob, they are able to create exactly the same secrets because they know the same key. So this is basically focusing on the confidentiality part, that only authorized users will be having access to that key. Is it clear to all regarding symmetric encryption? Any doubts in current slide? Yes, guys, any doubts in current slide? Anyone? Okay, great. I hope you all are able to understand the concepts which we are discussing, है ना? These are simple, interesting as well. If you take interest in these concepts, and make sure you revise it by today itself. कल इनमें से आ सकता है कुछ भी. Okay. Now we are here at the scream and block ciphers. Now there are two main types of symmetric encryption. One is scream ciphers, then we have block ciphers. Scream cipher में क्या होता है? Each byte या bit of data in the plain text is encrypted one at a time. ठीक है? ये स्ट्रीम में इसकी encryption होती है. So encryption and decryption is happening byte wise or the bit wise at a time. So this is suitable for encrypting communication where the total length of message is not known. जहाँ पता ही ना हो कि total length क्या होगी message की, तो byte wise या bit wise उसकी encryption decryption की जाती है stream cipher में. Plain text is combined with some separately randomly generated message which is calculated from the key or some initialization vector. So this must be used with initialization vector IV. So IV ensures that the key produces a unique ciphertext from the same plain text. एक plain text से unique ciphertext produce करेगा ये initialization vector जो हम extra text add करते हैं. So the key stream must be unique. So this IV must not be reused with the same key. So the recipient must be able to generate the same key stream as the sender. वो same key stream को generate करेगा जैसे sender ने generate की है, and the streams must be synchronized. So stream cipher might use markers to allow for the synchronization, retransmission. So there is some types of stream ciphers are self-synchronizing as well. Then we have block ciphers. where what exactly is happening, plain text को equally size blocks में divide कर दिया जाता है, like basically अगर आपने 128 bits में divide किया then that all bits. If there is not enough data in the plain text, it is padded to the correct size using some string defined in the algorithm. कुछ अगर वो नहीं, उसकी एक रिक्वायरमेंट पूरी हो रही है कि उसका जो मैसेज का साइज है वो इतना लॉन्ग नहीं है, इतना अप्रोप्रिएट नहीं है, उसको ब्लॉक सिफर हम बना सकें, तो कुछ पैडिंग की जाती है. पैडिंग इन द सेंस सम एक्स्ट्रा टेक्स्ट इज एडेड as per the defined algorithm. So for example, 1200 bit plain text would be padded with extra 80 bits to fix it into 10 times of 128 bit blocks, ताकि हम इक्वल 128 बिट का ब्लॉक एक बना सकें. तो इसमें तो 1200 बिट प्लेन टेक्स्ट में 80 बिट्स कम पड़ रहे हैं, तो 80 बिट्स पैड कर दिए जाएंगे सो दैट उसके 10 128 बिट ब्लॉक्स बन सके. सो ईच ब्लॉक इज देन सब्जेक्टेड टू सम कॉम्प्लेक्स ट्रांसपोजिशन सब्स्टिट्यूशन ऑपरेशन बेस्ड ऑन द वैल्यू ऑफ द की यूज्ड. तो उसको कैसे आपने ट्रांसपोजिशन सब्स्टिट्यूशन करके एक नया सिफर टेक्स्ट जनरेट करना है. Then we have advanced encryption standard. So in block cipher it is treated as equal size blocks. अगर equal size के block नहीं बन रहे हैं तो padding कर दी जाएगी, extra bit के blocks add कर दिए जाएंगे. Advanced encryption standard AES या फिर AES 256, what exactly is there? That is a default symmetric encryption cipher for most of the products. डिफॉल्ट एईएस स्टैंडर्ड यूज होता है. जो बेसिक एईएस स्टैंडर्ड है उसका की साइज रहता है 128 बिट्स का, बट जो मोस्ट वाइडली यूज हो रहा है वेरिएंट उसका वो अब है एईएस 256. 256 मतलब इसका 256 बिट की रहता है. ठीक है. नाउ वन वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट थिंग इज अबाउट की लेंथ. जो की लेंथ है वो क्या होनी चाहिए, उसकी क्या रेंज होनी चाहिए. नाउ द रेंज ऑफ की वैल्यूज विच इज अवेलेबल टू यूज विद सम पर्टिकुलर सिफर्स, that is basically considered as key space. ठीक है. की स्पेस रफली इक्विवेलेंट होती है 2 to the power to the size of the key. So using a longer key like 256 bits key rather than 128 bits, for instance, this will make the encryption scheme stronger. If you're using a stronger key, longer key, that will make the encryption scheme more stronger. ठीक है. You should realize जो की लेंथ है वो इक्विवेलेंट नहीं होती, not equivalent when comparing different algorithms. However, there could be recommendation on minimum key length for any given algorithm, which are made by identifying whether the algorithm is vulnerable to cryptanalysis technique, and by the length of time it would be take like brute force the key given some current processing resources. So the range of key is basically the key space. किस range तक हमने key set करनी है. Longer key bit length means larger key space, or strength of the key of any given length varies between the ciphers. So this is all about stream ciphers, block ciphers, and key length on the current slide. Is it clear to you all? Now we have asymmetric encryption. Now in asymmetric encryption, we'll be using two different keys, one for the encryption part, one for the decryption part. So that means a pair of keys being used. सिमेट्रिक इंक्रिप्शन सिफर में क्या था, सेम सीक्रेट की यूज कर रहे थे दोनों ऑपरेशंस परफॉर्म करने के लिए. इंक्रिप्शन करनी है तो वही की, डिक्रिप्शन करनी है तो वही की. बट असिमेट्रिक इंक्रिप्शन में विल बी यूजिंग अ पेयर ऑफ कीज. सो इट इज बेसिकली द ऑपरेशंस जो परफॉर्म कर रहे हैं दो डिफरेंट कीज से होंगे. वन बेसिकली देयर इज अ की पेयर, वन इज द पब्लिक की, वन इज द प्राइवेट की. हर एक यूजर का एक की पेयर जो होगा उसकी पब्लिक की पब्लिकली अवेलेबल होगी. एनी वन कैन यूज हिज और हर पब्लिक की. ठीक है. इन ऑर्डर टू इनक्रिप्ट द मैसेज बिकॉज पब्लिक की इज अवेलेबल. तो जो प्राइवेट की है वो यूजर के पास है, खुद के पास है सिर्फ, दैट इज प्राइवेट टू हिम और हर ओनली. So when just say I have to send a message to Soham, so I will encrypt the message with Soham's public key, so, and Soham has his private key with him, so he will be able to decrypt the message because whosoever public key is used to encrypt the message same person's private key will be applied to decrypt the message. No one else can decrypt the message with their own private key. मिलन अगर अपने प्राइवेट की से ट्राई करे मेरे मैसेज को डिक्रिप्ट करने का, कर ही नहीं पाएगा क्योंकि मैंने सोहम की पब्लिक की से उसको इनक्रिप्ट किया है. Is it clear? So that's how the key pairs are being used. So each key is capable of reversing the operation of its pair. So if public key हम encryption के लिए use कर रहे हैं तो उसकी paired private key use करेंगे decryption के लिए. Public key cannot be used to decrypt the ciphertext even though it was used to encrypt it. हम public key से decrypt नहीं कर पाएंगे, हालांकि हमने उसी से encrypt किया. क्यों? क्योंकि वो उसके pair से ही decrypt होगी. So the keys are linked in such a way that it makes it impossible to derive one from the another. So this means जो key holder है can distribute the public key to anyone जिसे भी वो चाहता है अपनी key distribute करना, या फिर जिससे वो अपनी कोई भी conversation messages receive करना चाहता है, secure messages. मेरे पास इस होम की पब्लिक की होगी तो मैं उसको encrypt करके भेज सकती हूँ मैसेज, वो encryption फॉर्म में उसके पास पहुंच जाएगा, डिक्रिप्ट अपने आप कर लेगा अपनी प्राइवेट की से. So no one else can use a public key to decrypt the message. Only the linked private key can do that. So this is the basic function, the phenomena which is being used in asymmetric encryption. Okay. Now here you can see public private key pair. If the public key encrypts, only private key can decrypt. Then if private key encrypts, only public key can decrypt. Obviously कोई private key से क्यों encrypt करके भेजेगा, है ना? कोई भी उसे डिक्रिप्ट कर लेगा. पब्लिक की तो बहुत लोगों के पास अवेलेबल होगी. सो प्राइवेट की कैन नॉट बी डिराइव्ड फ्रॉम द पब्लिक की. प्राइवेट की मस्ट बी केप्ट सीक्रेट. पब्लिक की इजी टू डिस्ट्रीब्यूट होती है, कोई भी ले सकता है उसको. सॉरी. Now, what is happening? Bob ने क्या किया? उसने एक Bob generates an asymmetric key pair and keeps the private key secret. उसने एक asymmetric key pair generate किया. Private key उसने खुद की अपने पास रख ली और उसने अपनी public key publish कर दी है और एलिस ने उसकी एक कॉपी रख ली है. Now Alice has public key of Bob. तो एलिस ने जब मन चाहेगा उसका मैसेज करने का बॉब को तो वो इंक्रिप्शन करके कर सकती है. तो वही हुआ. एलिस encrypts a message using Bob's public key. Now Alice sends a cipher text to Bob. Encryption हो गई है, plain text cipher text में convert हो गया है. तो Alice ने cipher text Bob को send कर दिया. Bob के पास अपनी private key थी, तो Bob decrypt the cipher text using his private key और मैसेज उसने देख लिया क्या भेजा था. अब बीच में अगर मैलरी स्निफ करेगी नेटवर्क ट्रैफिक को और she will be learning about the public key value cipher text. मैलरी को पता चल गया कि बॉब की पब्लिक की क्या है जो पहले उसने शेयर की थी एलिस से, पब्लिश की थी उसने ऑनलाइन, और उसने ये भी देख लिया कि सिफर टेक्स्ट क्या है. पर मैलरी ना बॉब की पब्लिक की यूज करके इंक्रिप्शन का रिवर्स प्रोसेस कर ही नहीं पाएगी. दैट वॉन्ट बी पॉसिबल. क्यों? क्योंकि डिक्रिप्शन क्या मांगेगा? पेयर मांगेगा जिस पब्लिक की का यूज किया, मतलब जो भी की का यूज किया है उसका प्राइवेट की उसे चाहिए होगा डिक्रिप्शन के लिए. सो मैलरी का जो बीच में काम रहेगा वो अनसक्सेसफुल रह जाएगा उसका अटैक. So message size is limited to key size. It's not suitable for large amount of data. It is used for the small amount of authenticated data, this asymmetric encryption. So that is where it is best suited. So that can be used to prove the identity. The holder of private key cannot be impersonated by anyone else. कोई इसके मैसेज को पढ़ ही नहीं पाएगा. लेकिन इसका एक ही एक ड्रॉबैक है बस asymmetric encryption का, कि what involves some kind of substantial computing overhead which is compared to the symmetric encryption. Now message cannot be larger than the key size. जितना key size है उससे बड़ा message नहीं भेज सकते. जो large messages हैं उनको encrypt नहीं कर सकते डिस्क पे या transport नहीं कर सकते network पे. Asymmetric encryption थोड़ा inefficient है. Consequently, asymmetric encryption mostly used होता है for the authentication purpose, known repudiation, and for the key agreement and exchange. Now key agreement और exchange क्या होता है कि जहाँ एक हमने settlement करनी है किसी secret symmetric की जो हमने use करनी है bulk encryption में without anyone else discovering it, तो इससे बचा लेते हैं वो key agreement states, because they don't have to decide on a single secret key or the shared key जो उन्होंने आगे अपने process में conversation में use करनी है. So is this asymmetric encryption clear to you all, everyone out there? Okay, Soham. What about others? नाउ पब्लिक की क्रिप्टोग्राफी एल्गोरिदम्स, हमारे पास कौन कौन से एल्गोरिदम्स हैं पब्लिक की क्रिप्टोग्राफी में. One is this very famous, we can say, RSA algorithm. So RSA algorithm basically it जो जिन्होंने इसे बनाया उनके सबके नाम के इनिशियल्स से ही इसका नाम बना है. राइवल्स, शमीर, एडलमैन. तो दे हैव मेड दिस एल्गोरिदम. सो asymmetric encryption is often referred to as, हाँ, जैसे हम सिमेट्रिक इंक्रिप्शन को प्राइवेट की क्रिप्टोग्राफी बोलते हैं, असिमेट्रिक को हम पब्लिक की क्रिप्टोग्राफी बोलते हैं. मैनी पब्लिक की क्रिप्टोग्राफी प्रोडक्ट्स ये आरएस एल्गोरिदम से वो है, बेस्ड है, आरएस एल्गोरिदम पे बेस्ड है. रोन राइवर्स and Eddie Shamir, Leonard Edelman, they published RSS cipher in 1977. इन्होंने RSS cipher बनाया था 1977 में. इसका एक सेकेंड, you can refer to this link as well for this RSA algorithm. So the RSA algorithm provides the mathematical properties for deriving the key pairs and performing encryption-decryption operations. So it is based on the many public key cryptography schemes. There is a trapdoor function. So this type of algorithm is called trapdoor function because it is easy to perform using public key. बड़ा easily हम इसे public key के through perform कर सकते हैं. But इसका difficult है reverse without knowing the private key. तो trapdoor की तरह है कि आपने पब्लिक की से कैलकुलेट, इजी टू कैलकुलेट विद द पब्लिक की, लेकिन उसका रिवर्स प्रोसेस जो है विदाउट प्राइवेट की पॉसिबल ही नहीं है. सो वन इज जस्ट समथिंग लाइक दैट. देन वी हैव elliptic curve cryptography, ECC, which is another type of crypto function. Because पब्लिक की यूज कर रहे हैं हम क्रिप्टोग्राफिक सिफर्स के लिए. द प्रिंसिपल एडवांटेज ऑफ ईसीसी ओवर आरएस एल्गोरिदम इज दैट देयर आर नो नोन शॉर्टकट्स टू क्रैकिंग द सिफर और द मैथ दैट अंडरपिन्स इट. कोई नोन शॉर्टकट सिफर क्रैक करने का या फिर कोई मैथ का ऐसा कोई फिनोमिना नहीं लगा है इस पे. सो इट regardless of the key length. So consequently, ECC that use a key size of 256 bits, ठीक है, it concerns about RSA being vulnerable to cryptanalysis. So this is another type of trapdoor function. It can use the smaller keys to obtain the same security. So RSA key pair security depends on the difficulty of finding the prime factors of very large integers. So ECC depends on the discrete logarithm, logarithmic this problems, log problems. So Cloudflare have produced an excellent overview of the differences. Let me share you with you कि क्या हमारे differences हैं इन दोनों में. Guys, is it clear to you all? Public key cryptography algorithms. Everyone out there. Okay, let's move to the next part of this chapter, which is about summarizing the cryptographic mode of operations. So, in mode of operations, we have this very common, very useful type, digital signatures. सुना आपने digital signatures के बारे में किसी ने? Okay, so Soham has heard about it. What about others? Digital signatures के बारे में सुना है किसी ने? So, what exactly is happening? When we talk about mode of operation, so that means it's a mean of using cipher within a product or to achieve the security goal. Like security goal could be confidentiality, integrity. हम ऐसा कुछ achieve करना चाह रहे हैं. So being able to summarize the mode of operation that will help you to implement support some security control like digital signature, transport encryption. Now digital signature is something like the sender digitally signed the document. So public key cryptography that can authenticate a sender because they control a private key that encrypts messages in a way that no one else can. So public key cryptography can only be used with very small messages, however. So hashing is there. Hashing proves the integrity. कैसे? By computing a unique checksum from the input, एक hash value message digest जो भी generate होता है, वहां से पता चल जाएगा कि integrity इसकी breach हुई है या फिर secured है. So these two cryptographic functions जब इन्हें combine कर देते हैं, so that this sender can be authenticated, जिसने send किया उसको authenticate कर सके और हम integrity prove कर सके message की. So that is basically a part of digital signature. So इसमें हम public की cryptography with hashing use करते हैं digital signatures में. So they provide integrity, authentication, non repudiation. Integrity क्योंकि hash value से पता चल जाएगा message नहीं change हुआ है. Authentication भी हो जाएगी. Non repudiation because जो sender होगा वो अपने signatures के साथ भेजेगा तो कल को वो deny भी नहीं कर सकता मैंने message नहीं भेजा. So RSA based digital signatures are a part of it where this public key cryptography is being used. And digital signature algorithm with ECC cipher, DSA with ECC is being used. Now here in this particular conversation, we have Alice and Bob. Now Alice, which is sender, Alice creates a digest of the message using a pre-agreed hash algorithm. जो भी उन्होंने hash algorithm agree किया था, उससे उसने अपने hello world message का एक hash value message digest निकाल लिया. And then encrypts the digest using Alice private key. उसने अपनी private key से उसको encrypt कर दिया. ठीक है? Hash of the message encrypted with Alice private key. फिर message with signature and the public key is shared to the Bob. Now Bob क्योंकि वो पेयर्स यूज करता है जो ये पब्लिक की क्रिप्टोग्राफी है तो बॉब डिक्रिप्ट करेगा सिग्नेचर को यूजिंग एलिस पब्लिक की एक रेफरेंस हैश वैल्यू जनरेट हो जाएगी उसके पास ठीक है then Bob then create the digest of the message using the same pre-agreed hash algorithm जो भी एलिस ने शेयर किया दोनों digest को कंपेयर करेगा अगर दोनों digest hash values की वैल्यूज सेम आ जाती हैं तो data has not been tampered with during transmission data को कुछ changes नहीं किए हैं एलिस identity is guaranteed so if message is changed और कोई भी malicious user intercept करता है बीच में message को तो उसकी different private key होगी तो वो डिक्रिप्ट ही नहीं कर पाएगा so the digest would not match and the message would not be trusted so message authentication and integrity is identified using digital signatures so it is important to remember that a digital signature is a hash basically it is a hash that is then encrypted using private key so without the encryption another party could easily intercept the file and the hash modify the file compute new hash and then send the modified file and hash to the recipient so it is also important to realize that the recipient must also have some means of validating the public key really was issued by Alice. So this is how we should note that digital signatures they do not provide any message confidentiality. They provide the integrity along with the authentication and non-repudiation. And when we talk about DSA, digital signature algorithm, so that is slightly different format for achieving the same sort of goal. So this is basically use ECC, another type of public key cryptography rather than RSA cipher. So this is all about digital signatures, guys. Is it clear to you all? Okay, Soham. Anyone else? Like, guys, do you have any doubt? Okay. So we have almost covered the important concepts, the points. Then this is the next part, which is about digital envelope and key exchange. Let's have a look at this in a nutshell. Now symmetric encryption. uh, I think that would be fine. अगर हम यहीं तक अब यहाँ तक रिवाइज कर लेना. If you would like to have a look at these further slides, then that's completely your wish. But make sure till this part you revise well for tomorrow's quiz. ठीक है. चैप्टर 4 के जो 10 पेजेस हमने कवर किए थे, सॉरी चैप्टर 3 के 10-11 पेजेस कवर किए थे, उनको अच्छे से रिवाइज कर लेना. चैप्टर 1 to complete, then third complete, sorry, fourth complete, and fifth up to digital signatures. I think that would be enough sufficient for you guys to prepare for your quiz 1. ठीक है. Till DSA, right? Yes, this till DSA, right? Is it clear to you guys? Everyone? So any doubt, any queries till this particular topic? Any doubts, any queries? Okay, so if no doubts, no queries, then you all may leave the session. We are good to go. Prepare well for your quiz 1. And yeah, that's it, guys. That's all for today. Thank you so much.